Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. I am the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I've returned once again to these internet airwaves as the voice of the vasectomites. And today I wanted to talk about a sensitive subject when it comes to bachelors and vasectomites. But I want you to keep an open mind as I try to lay out my case and convince you to look at, quite frankly, there is something that is taboo in our field and in our area, but also I want you to look at it in a completely different point of view and perspective. And I will do my best to lay this out for you in a way that I think in the end will be beneficial to you as well as to others, but more to you than to others. I want to talk about the sensitive topic of responsibility. But more than that, I want to talk about how you should and can take responsibility. Thereby, I mean that I want to encourage you to take responsibility. And I don't mean just responsibility of yourself. That comes standard with the bachelor life, the vasectomites, and all who choose to believe this philosophy of ours, especially that of freezing your sperm and getting your vasectomy, top of the list. We cannot proceed without saying that. But I want to encourage you to start taking responsibility for other people. Now I can already hear the voices of dissent, the boos in the crowd, and those that have been following along will start questioning me, and you might say, oh, but Ancient One, you're contradicting yourself. You said that responsibility for other people other than yourself, other than work. You said, other than in the workplace, the Ancient One, you said taking responsibility for other people is forbidden in the bachelor life, especially for a vasectomite like you. And yes, I did. And yes, I did say that. Then you might ask yourself, but Ancient One, how now can you turn around and encourage us, the practitioners of the deceptive arts, the readers of Sun Tzu? How can you ask us to now start doing something that you said is not only forbidden, but is dangerous and detrimental to our health and to our survival? Well, let's discuss it. And perhaps I can answer some of your questions and maybe clarify my opening statement by saying that you should be taking responsibility as the time goes, not just for yourself, but also for people, other people. Before we discuss the why you should want to do this, let's talk about the what, right? What do I mean by responsibility? I mean leadership. Now I can already hear you saying, oh my God, Ancient One, what do you mean leadership? Yes, I mean leadership. I need you to lead in the true definition of the word leading, right? We're talking about the what. Once we know what we are talking about, I'll be able to explain to you the why. And I'll explain why it makes sense. But bear with me, right? Lead, to lead. What does this word mean to lead, right? So as I'm explaining the meaning, think of the actions that go with that. To lead means to take the initiative in action. In other words, to start the action rather than for you to be the person receiving the action, right? You lead by taking initiative in action, not being responsive, right? So you don't just respond to people's actions, you initiate the actions. This is what I'm talking about. When you lead people, you initiate the action. So you act upon them and get them to respond in a particular way. You get them to do as you would do or as you would like to do. We have a few meanings here of the word lead, right? It says, having a position of advantage in a contest. This is what it means to lead, right? So, in a contest, in a competition, in any outcome, you want to be the one who has the advantage, right? So, first you take the initiative, and that initiative is going to give you an advantage in a contest, right? It's going to give you a better position for you to win over a competitor. This is what it means to lead, right? Putting yourself first or being in first place, right? This is what it means to lead, and thereby being an example for others to follow. This is what it means to lead. Taking the initiative, right? Putting yourself in a position of advantage, putting yourself beyond the possibility of defeat, putting yourself first, thereby being an example for others to follow. Now, I have a very particular leadership style. I'm very task oriented. So, daily, weekly, monthly, I will have a series of tasks for people to do in order to accomplish the goal. I find that trying to motivate people for the sake of motivation, it doesn't really work, right? Because you can only do like 15 minutes of that. But when you are task oriented and you focus on doing the task, then you can have an entire hour's discussion on just the information, right? Instead of discussing your feelings 10 minutes and then you're sad, you're happy, whatever, so I'm task oriented, so I will come in and take the initiative and say, this is the task that we are going to accomplish. This is what I need you to do first, then I need you to do that, then I need you to do this third. At the end of such a period, 1 hour, 2 hours, at the end of the day, I need to receive this and this and this from this group of people, right? Usually it's more or less everybody working on the same goal. I really am not the kind of person who has 5 people doing something here, 5 people doing something there, 10 people doing something else. No, everybody is really performing towards the same outcome all the time, right? Some people think it's a waste of time, but I find it to be very productive. I find that we actually are accomplishing things over time. rather than trying to multitask, which is not a real thing, right? Multitasking just means that you are distracted and disorganized and don't have the power for accomplishment. You are, it's ADD actually. There's no such thing as multitasking, it's just ADD. To conclude here, our definition, let's look at the word leader. The word leader is a person who leads or commands. In other words, you are the one giving the instructions rather than the one receiving the instructions to a group, an organization, or even a country. This is what I mean by leading. Putting yourself in a position where you are deciding what is the outcome, right? What is the goal, right? What I'm really talking about is to put yourself in the principal position where you are the authority to make people act and not the one receiving the action, right? You are the authority to make the people act, rather not the one receiving the instruction to act and not the one receiving the action, right? And they must act based on your priorities and your desired outcome. So if you're trying to make more money, they need to act in such a way that makes you more money. If you're trying to increase productivity, they need to act in such a way that increases productivity. If you're trying to increase manufacturing output, so you're trying to create more products in less time, and using less fuel and energy, they need to be able to move and accomplish that, or at least begin the changes to do that. Now, I'll be honest with you, right? This did not come naturally to me. Yes, from a very young age, because of my qualifications in the career that I'm in, I was thrust in a leadership position. But I'll be honest with you, for a very long time, I was disinterested in leadership. Not because I wasn't capable, not because I wasn't ambitious, but because I was a young man and I had the interests of a young man, right? And as a young man, your priorities are completely different. So I'm not recommending this for young people. Really, I'm not recommending this advice for young people. If you're a young bachelor, a young vasectomite, leadership and taking responsibility for people may not be the thing you want to do, right? You're better off, I'm going to be dead honest with you, you're better off playing video games for a year or two. You're better off traveling, riding quad bikes for a year or two. And I know it doesn't seem ambitious, but I'm going to tell you something. You're only going to be young once. And you're only going to be a young bachelor for a very short period of time. The rest of your life, you live it out as an old bachelor. So you still have, for those of you that succeed as a bachelor, and for those that return the Bachelor 2.0, right? I'm not talking about uni benders. Mostly I'm talking about vasectomites, right? The rest of your life, you're going to live it out as, quite frankly, an older bachelor. Which, for most people, they can't really tell the difference between a married man and an old bachelor. Other than to say, well, maybe the bachelor might be, a little bit healthier, a little bit fitter. But otherwise, we all really wear our age on our face, right? So this advice isn't really for young bachelors, even though I think the information will be useful. Because you're not really interested in leadership. Some guys are. Some guys are. So, my advice today is really for the young bachelors to see what's coming ahead, but for the The Bachelor 2.0, he who returns, who may not be inclined to take responsibility. I'd like you to look at our definition of leadership and think about if this is you or not, right? But there's a reason for this, right? Now, I'm not, and I never will advocate for putting yourself in a position where weak people or weak minded people or weak willed people, right, are making you do things and controlling your actions. This is what you don't want. You don't want weak people to be controlling you and your actions just because you didn't want to stand up when you should have, right? And effectively, what I'm saying is, as an older guy, imagine being, let's say you are 40 years old and your manager is 23 and they don't know what they're doing. And you should be managing, not just because you have more experience, you have more logic, you have more, you know, you have a better temperament, right? But because you're simply older. And whatever you don't know, you can figure it out. Young person is always going to panic under pressure. And that's one of the things that I knew about myself. Not that I was a panicky person, but that if I was under a certain type of pressure, I'd just be inclined to walk away instead of staying and resolve issues. And that's the difference between young men and older men. A young guy will just walk away from a problem. There's a point to which young guys cannot deal with problems. Whereas older men, they can wake up and deal with problems the whole day. There are guys who will be working in companies that are going under, like stock prices just plummeting, and they'll be there 10 years just working it out. Young men, they'll collapse under this pressure. So you don't want weak people, weak-willed people, weak-minded people telling you what to do, controlling your actions, right? This is part of the why. This is part of the why. The reason why you want to be taking leadership, right? I use the word responsibility, but we're really talking about leadership, right? And leadership and then authority. And let's discuss why this is important for you, right? And really it's all about age. It's really all about age, right? Yes, on the one hand, you are getting older, right? And I want you to keep this in mind, right? But also I want you to look at the demographic of the world as a whole in terms of age. So while you're getting older, think of the world population, the demographic of the world, right? Now, some of these statistics that I'm about to quote here might be a little bit outdated, but I think they're more or less accurate. 63.1%, 63% of the world currently is under the age of 40. Right? So 60% of the world is under 40 years old. Right? 13%, 13% of the world are above 60. So around 20% is between 40 and 60. Now just listen to that, right? 63 and 13 gives you about, what's that? 77, let's say around 77%, just under 77%. Just under 77% of the world's population effectively is not doing well. They're not making real money, right? So the under 40s are struggling financially. There's a few of them doing well. But overall, they're not hanging on. They're really not hanging on. They got kids, they got bills, they got debt, they got all kinds of problems, right? These are the under 40s. Over 60, right? So effectively, under 40 over 60, they are economically not viable. Not viable. Especially under 30. Under 30, you can forget about it. Right? That's why I didn't just do between 20 and 30. That's not going to make a difference really. Because the under 30s, economically, forget about it. Forget it. They're not going to pull this off. So the real money is really above 40. It's 40 and over. That's where the real money is. That's where the people have had some savings, right? We can assess that around 10, maybe 15% on the maximum, but around 10 to 12% of the world's population is between, let's say, 35 and 45, right? Between 35 and say 45, maybe, let's say 45 to 50, right? That's where the real money is. 45 to 55, that's where the real money is. That's where the money is. But let's add, the most active people at work. So these are the most productive, most active people at work. These are going to be between 35 and 45. 55, you're talking about, corporate CEOs, that kind of thing, right? People that have been doing this for 40 years, right? So that's a completely different field of people. 35, 45, we can say that's between 10 and 12%, right? 10 and 12% of the people are between 35 and 45, right? That means around 70% of the population, if you're between this age bracket, let's say you average around 40, so you're just a little bit under 40 and a little bit over 40, right? Just around there. 70% of the people in your age group are your age or younger. All right, 70% of this working population is going to be your age or younger if you're between 35 and 45, right? If you're around 40, let's say if you're around 40, 70% of the world's population is probably younger than you, right? And the other minimum is above 65. So they're above 60. I beg your pardon. So they're already retired. These statistics are relatively stable over time. So over time, regardless of how big or small the population gets, you're really going to find around 10 to 12% of your population is between 35 and 45, right? So if you're above 35 years old, the majority of the world is effectively younger than you, right? And most of the people that are older than you are either unable to work or retired or very close to retirement, right? Now, I don't recommend you trying to take power and wealth from more richer and more powerful people, right? Generally, these are older people, more experienced people with better connections, and they've made those connections over time. And there's people that owe them favors that you have no idea what they can do. I don't ever suggest you arguing with and fighting with and going to battle with people that are more powerful than you. This includes your immediate manager at work, whatever title he has, right? Team leader, coordinator, a floor manager, whatever title he has, right? He has more power, more connections than you. Do not climb up to fight battles. All your battles should be fought down. That's why I say this has to do with age, right? The people above you, the people older than you, the people with more experience than you stay away from those. They'll destroy you, right? They'll destroy you. You won't even see it coming, right? Nothing good will come from that. More so, you can learn from them. You can gain a lot by working with them, right? You can benefit a lot by having them on your side, right? rather than having a difficult cantankerous attitude with your seniors, your managers. You really want to take an attitude of humility, even if the management changes and switches, right? If they're more powerful than you, in a better position than you, don't fight them at all. When you're in a more powerful position than them, then you can go ahead and attack them, right? Always fight down. Always fight down. Leave your elders alone. Leave more experienced people alone. Leave richer people alone, right? Just even if somebody isn't doing well in retirement, right? Even if they have, like, they're struggling with poverty and struggling to make ends meet, that kind of thing. If you upset them and antagonize them, there's no telling what they can do to you, right? There's no telling what they can do. Some of these people have been to war, man. You don't want to mess with people like that. They served years in the army. You don't know. You know him years later as a history teacher, right? You meet a history teacher and you're like, oh, well, why does he know so much about the war? All he does is talk about World War. Yeah, because he was there. Do you know what I mean? That's why he's teaching history, because he has intimate experience. You know what I mean? Think about those things. So you don't fight up, right? Our focus should be on those that are in the majority, those that are your age or younger. And ask yourself, do you really want these people telling you how to live your life and telling you what to do with your time and your effort? For me, no. Right? For me, it's an absolute no. I'm not having some 28-year-old person who's playing manager, who's pretending to understand, tell me what to do. Right? I'm not having some 30-year-old tell me what to do. Absolutely not. I don't care where your education is from. You just haven't lived enough. If you're telling me, well, I'm still hoping on having my first kid, my wife and I don't want to hear it. You can tell me nothing. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now. You're walking right into the dark dimension. You don't even know where you're walking into. You know what I mean? So I can be certain that you're gonna miss some things, some functional things. This is not an insult, it's experience. It is not an insult, it's experience. Young people you don't even know how to sleep. You don't even know how to sleep 8 hours every single day. You're gonna come in tired and unprepared. No, 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 no. You cannot have these people telling you how to live your life. You cannot have these people controlling things. You cannot have your children or people that are younger than you be richer than you. I'm going to say that again. You cannot have people that are younger than you be richer than you and have more power than you and start giving you orders. That is going to be so frustrating. You have to be the person that's in the power, that's with the authority, that has the money. Even if you feel like you don't need it, right? Even if you feel like, man, I got enough money, I don't need to be making all this extra money. You need to be the one taking that money. You do not want to have these people telling you what to do, how to live your life, and then controlling you with money, cutting you off $100 here and there so you can run some errands for them. No, they need to be running errands for you. You have to be rich. You have to have this power. You have to put yourself in position where they are taking orders from you, right? First, you must also understand that most people in the world are broke. So also, if you got these young people giving you orders, those orders are coming from a place of brokenness and a place of desperation, right? And most of these people aren't broke because they don't earn enough money or there isn't enough money available. They are broke because they are bad with money. All right? You got to understand that. You got to understand that people are bad with money. They mismanage their education. they mismanage their health, they mismanage their opportunities, they mismanage their resources, but most of all, they mismanage their money. These are not the people that you want giving you orders. These people are pretty much just starting out in life. If you're 35 and almost 40 years old and you see somebody who's under 35, 30, if they are 20, if they're in their 20s, they haven't even started. People are only starting to have children 30, 29, 28, 30, 31. They are really just starting, right? Which I think is very late. Which I think is very, very late to start taking leadership. Like, even if you don't want leadership, just having that experience at a young age, 5 years of this, 10 years of this, after 15 years, you just get on with it. You know what I mean? You don't even realize it's just part of the job, right? But these people are just starting out, and they are, when I say broke, man, when I say cash strapped, this is not what you want. You don't want to be broke along with them. You want them to see you as the guy that's mature enough, that's got his money always right. Oh man, when these people come to you and it's like 5 days before payday and they need to borrow $50 and you give them 500. That's the situation. You just just pay it back whenever you can. You know what I mean? You want to be that person. You want to be that person. You don't want to be that person showing your colleagues a zero bank account, or anybody a zero bank account. Or you don't want to be the one where your colleagues come visit your house and they find out that you're living in squalor. And they find out that they're living in gated communities making less money than you. You want to have this all together, man. You really want to have yourself together. You don't want to be suffering, man. Using toilet paper as a coffee filter. That kind of nonsense. Drinking wine out of a mug. No, man. No. You know what I mean? Or staying in on a friend's sofa instead of booking a hotel. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. Like, you don't want to be the guy doing that, right? And this mismanagement that I'm discussing, this mismanagement that these people have, young people, extends to their family, their friends. It extends to their colleagues, and their general well-being. It is a common trait among young knee benders and counterparts. But more than mismanaging themselves, they want you to do the same thing as them. So they want you to be out there partying, taking illicit substances, finishing off the last few drops of their youth, which you cannot do, which you absolutely cannot do. You have to let all that go in your 20s. In your 30s, it's really time to get on with it. I mean, don't be unproductive, and don't be broke in your 20s. But understand that the fact that you don't have the interest in leadership is also an indication of capacity, right? So there's a certain number of years that you need to have working, understanding how money works. There's one thing to learn about money at school, doing the calculations and getting those calculations right. In real life, those calculations add up to you either being fed or starving, right? So you can get the numbers right in school, but those numbers don't add up to grades in real life. They add up to starvation, right? So you either are fed today or you're starving, right? So you could get the numbers completely right and still starve, right? So you have to understand, like, there are consequences to not getting your finances in order, and most people do not, right? You cannot allow these people to make any kinds of decisions about you, about how you live, where you live, right? Or what kind of circumstances you act in, right? Why? Because you will end up just like them. The older you get, the younger the general population around you is, and the worse off the lives of those that are older. Because these guys all have kids and they all have bills, and the bill for raising kids goes up every year, right? Those fledglings are going to exhaust your finances, right? Children are expensive, and they will ensure that you never climb out of poverty no matter how much money you make. As you get older, as a bachelor, as a vasectomite, right, you might see how prevalent self-destructive behavior actually is, right? As a young bachelor, you may still be protected from this reality. And you will see how people will try to induce you and encourage you to participate in their demise and your own, right? You cannot allow this. You cannot allow this, right? If there is a position for management at work, even just a little bump up, you need to take that position and that power and secure yourself, right? You must seek power for power's sake. You must seek wealth for wealth's sake. You seek power because it is power, because it is authority, because it is leadership, right? And because you don't want these people telling you what to do with your life. That's the worst case scenario. That's the worst case scenario, right? You don't want people who are in their retirement, who failed, telling you what to do. You don't want these young people, especially these young people, telling you what to do, right? You need to seek power for power's sake. You need to secure wealth for wealth's sake, even if you don't know what to do, right? Even if you don't have a plan or a clue what to do with it yet. The vision, the feeling, the solution, the outcomes, those will come. When you are there in the position, you will know what to do, right? Now, I say I've been in a position of leadership for pretty much nearly my own career, right? This was the consequences of academic success. At university, I achieved academic success and I was thrust into responsibility, right? So understand that there are some things that you do that you'll be successful at and you'll think, yeah, I nailed it, and you'll think I can take it easy now. No, you cannot, right? The strategy that I developed for leadership, just being task oriented, and setting standards so that I don't have to worry about what we're going to do today. There's always a task. I have tasks ready for a month, right? Every day I can, and if yesterday's one was incomplete, we'll finish it today and so forth, right? But this came with time. And the interest in leadership did not come because I wanted to advance. I was being paid plenty. I was being paid enough to travel the world as a young man. 26, 27 years old, already flew twice around the world. Haven't been graduated for more than 14 months, right? 25, 26, I was already flying around the world, right? And I didn't even know what I was doing, right? There's still some places where I'm like, maybe I should go back and redo that, because I thought I had enough money, but I really didn't at the time. I was just fortunate to be able to go, and I was excited, but no interest in leadership. But even still, I remained. I knew that there was no purpose in going down, right? And going up might be a challenge, so I could remain there. There were times when I was criticized for not advancing sooner, right? And it wasn't because of capacity, it was a lack of interest. number one, most of the people in that position were already so much older than me, right? And I had so much to learn. The truth is, I also had so much to learn. Having capacity and is one thing, but confidence is another, and skill is another. I really had so much to learn from older people, and I was wise enough to know that. But then there came a point when those older people, their experience and mine sort of intertwined, and I felt okay. Now I'm sort of equal in skill and capacity, but even if I enter that leadership role, the chances are they'll keep shutting me down because of age. Whatever ideas I have, they'll keep shutting me down because of age, right? So ultimately, age is a big factor in leadership. Don't let people tell you that it's not. Nobody's gonna take orders from a 32-year-old. I'm telling you that. I wouldn't. I don't care what your education is. I don't care if you're a millionaire superstar. You tell me you're 31 years old, I'm not listening to nothing. I'm 31 years old, me and my wife are about to have our first kid. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear nothing from you. Come back in 12 years and tell me what happened. You'll be talking about, oh, child support is so unfair. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The same ones that are eager to start the family are the same ones complaining that child support isn't fair for men. It just tells me that you didn't know what you were doing. You really didn't know what you were doing, right? You cannot let these young, naive, immature, emotional, inexperienced, broke knee benders control things. Not on a business level, not on a political level, not on a social level, not on an academic level. You cannot let these people control nothing, because they will lead everyone down the dark path to the dark dimension. This is a fact, right? And as we read today's edification on leadership and the reasons why you should take leadership, I'm going to tell you right now. These reasons, they may be very good that we're going to read, right? But they mean nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you the truth. There's some things here like uniting up behind a vision, that kind of nonsense. I could care less about that. I just don't want to be in a situation where I have incompetent people, young people, immature people, inexperienced people, emotional people, naive people, walking around blind people, telling me, people who think rappers are in the higher echelons of society. If you look up to a rapper, you're the one that I'm talking about. If you look up to any rapper, I mean, these are people who dropped out of school, who could barely read the first contract that they signed, and they barely understood the numbers on those contracts. These are people who received 1% of their labor and their worth. If you think I'm joking about how much these rappers received of the general income, look at NFL players, how much they're making, and look at the value of the team. Look at the one NFL player, what his salary is, and look at the value of the team, and tell me what that difference is. 0.01%. The difference between $10 million and $1 billion is 0.01%. It's not even 1%. 1% of $1 billion, I think I think it's round about 10 million. I think it's round about 10 million. I think it's round about 1%. I'm not sure, but I know it's a vast difference. Like $10 million compared to $1 billion is nothing. Some of these franchises are worth $10 billion. If the franchise is worth $10 billion, you need about 100 million to hit 0.1%. I think. I'm not sure about my numbers. I really didn't work out. I'm not certain if it's 1%, so it's 1.0%, or it's 0.1%, but there's a decimal there, right? It's somewhere along there, but it's minute. It is insignificant what the players get compared to the team. Go look at what the rappers get compared to the record companies. Nothing. I mean, nothing. So if these are the people you're looking at, this is a problem for me, because you should be a record executive, not a rapper. We are in the executive suites, not on the stage, right? You put the young 16, 18, 19-year-old, you put him on the stage, made him sing and dance. That's how it should be. You in your 40s, 40 years old, you're in the executive suite, you got the 20-year-old performing. That's where you need to be. You don't want to be the 40-year-old having this 20-year-old kid telling you what to do with your time in your life. I promise you that. You also don't want your kids to be richer than you. You don't want to have a situation where your children that you raised are richer than you. Trust me, you don't want those problems. They're going to take out all your bad parenting on you. And there's so many parents who made this mistake. They go ahead and make their kids super rich, and their kids just turn around and just be so resentful, right? You don't want that. You don't want that, right? You must be in a situation, especially as a vasectomite, as you get older, where you are in a position of power just because that position offers power. You must be in a situation to take wealth just because that situation offers wealth. And perhaps one day, the vasectomites will rule this world. And only then, I believe, we can have peace and order. So today's article is entitled, "Why Would I Want to Be a Team Leader?" It's written by Luis Mora Castillon. It was published on the 2nd of November 2023. Sorry, that's not 20,203. That's 2023. I beg your pardon. And it is from Luis's page on linkedin.com, and there is the link to not just his page but also the article. And Luis says, "Throughout my career, I have been asked this, and today I'm taking the time to put it into words. For somebody who was taught you prove with actions." Okay, so they taught you to prove with actions. Okay, I thought he wrote that completely wrong. Who I am and what I am capable of doing. It is hard to express it with simple words. So yes, he had to be a man of action and not a man of words. Here is my best attempt. Sorry, there are some grammatical issues like capitalizations and such. This is not from me. This was straight from Luis's page. I tried to correct as many of them as I could in the pre-reading, but some of them really just filtered through. But this was not me. Luis is to blame. Blame Luis. He's the problem. Let's continue. I fell into leadership roles like most of us by chance. However, I naturally fit into it and felt comfortable doing it. I find that there are three situations that people fall into leadership. Some people achieve leadership through great work. Other people are just born natural leaders, and there are those, of course, who are forced into it. I may fall into all three. However, it says, over the years, I started to read self-development and leadership books to be better at what I do. I did the same thing. I read a lot of leadership and strategy books, and all they did was frustrate me, right? They're really not getting you to be as productive as you can. And I'm telling you, the best way to be productive is, one, to be task-based. right? So don't try and motivate people to do a lot, just get them to do a lot. And two, set standards, right? So you really don't want to wake up and say, because you're happy today, the standard is up. Because I'm sad, the standard is low. No, it is constant and it is always there. Third is method and discipline. So you need to be consistent in your methodology, be systematic. And discipline is, if people don't follow the system and the method, is there must be consequences for that, right? There must be. So you need to speak to them on the side. You need to get them to participate, and if that doesn't work, you need to bring out the warnings, right? What you want is everybody on the same page. You don't want one person thinking they're special. You don't want one person doing their own thing, because that person is going to affect everybody else to be ineffective. And if you get that one person, you got to use him as an example, either as an example of improvement or an example of discipline. And that depends on your staffing situation. If you are understaffed, you cannot afford to fire people because of bad attitude. But if you are overstaffed, you can let go. You can transfer one or two, right, to another department or something. So it really depends. You do not want to find yourself in a situation where you don't have staff. I don't care how lazy a person seems, right? No matter how lazy they are or incompetent they seem, they are better there than they are away, right? Replacing a new employee is the worst thing to do. It takes months, years sometimes, to get a person right and up to speed. If you already got them there and they have some acumen for the work, better to train them and bring them up to speed than for you to try and fire them and act like a boss in a movie. Man, you don't want to be understaffed. That is the worst case scenario for any business. Soon as you're understaffed, productivity goes out the window. And that is unacceptable. So, think about these things. So, yes, I read some books and some of them were helpful, many of them were not. The Art of War is really the best one. Read it and understand it and apply it. There is an ellipsis there for some missing information, but this information wasn't going to help us. It is so insignificant, in fact, I can't remember what it was even about. But let's continue. This is my condensed understanding of why I want to be a leader, why I want to be a leader, right? In essence, my desire to become a team leader is grounded in a deep sense of purpose. It is not merely about holding a title or wielding authority, it is for me. Rather, it's about embracing a mission and a vision that transcends personal gain. You see, right here, this is where you lose people, right? Embracing a mission and a grand vision that transcends personal goals, interpersonal skills, and advancements. You can't do this every day. You cannot come in and be a motivational speaker every day. This is why they hire motivational speakers from time to time, right? Once or twice a year, somebody will come in. At the end of your function, somebody will come in. At the beginning of the year, in key, when the CEO is launching a new product, he might say something inspirational. But you can't sustain this on a daily basis. Saying good job is better than saying let's get to work, everyone. I promise you. An employee that hears good job every day, keep up the good work, that's great productivity, that is easier to do and easier to sustain than saying do your best, everyone, let's rise above every single day. You're going to be exhausted. And even then, for how long 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day? You're working a 10, 12 hour day. You're going to be motivating people for 12 hours every day? No way. No way. Keep them based on the task. Keep them focused. The mission, I understand. Give them a mission, give them a goal, but give them a task. Tell them, I want this document. I want this video. I want X a number of photos of this quality. I want this level of production. I need something tangible to hold in my hand. So when I'm taking it to that board meeting, I can say, this is what my staff has done. Instead of coming in there and telling them that morale is high, but productivity is non existent. No, no, we're not doing that, right? There's no personal gain here, right? There's no emotional intelligence. Get the job done. Here are my key reasons why one might aspire to be team leader. Number one, to inspire and influence. You see, it's things like this, man. Things like this just rub me off the wrong way, right? So again, I'm not doing this for that inspirational stuff. Really, I just don't want to have young people telling me what to do when it should be the other way around. It says here, at the core of effective leadership lies the ability to inspire and influence others positively. As a team leader, I have the privilege and responsibility to motivate my team members to achieve their full potential. My why is rooted in the belief that I can make a difference in the lives of those I lead. People like this really upset me. People like this really upset me. This is not an instruction on again he says why, right? He's talking about why, the feeling inside, right? This is the reason why he's talking about motivating himself. He's saying that what motivates him is motivating other people. Unsustainable. Unsustainable, right? So what happens on the day where you motivate people but they're not motivated? What do you do on that day? Is that day now a failure? Right? So to him, maybe this might be an inspirational reason. For me, I think this is not so much. I really just have one inspirational reason to lead. Right? Really, I'm not having some 22-year-old tell me what to do. You know what I mean? You saw those videos. Go watch that video with that girl where they're singing that song. I'm gonna say it and you're gonna know it. I'm not even gonna sing the song. I'm gonna say the words. You're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. That Gen Z boss in a mini. You know, and they do that thing again. Gen Z boss in a mini, and then there's that little one. Something something and a bob, something something and a bob, and they do that three times, right? That Gen Z boss in a mini culture, you're going to come into work as a middle-aged man, 40, 50 years old, and they're going to make you join that circle, and you're going to be singing Gen Z boss in a mini at 7:30 in the morning. You're not even halfway through your cup of coffee. You gotta stop, put down the coffee, and sing Gen Z boss in a mini before you go in and let that Gen Z boss tell you what to do. And if they didn't get that recording right the first time, you can be damn sure they were gonna make you record it again. You gotta take control of the situation, man. You cannot let these people control the situation. You're going to be singing in the morning, in the afternoon, and before you go home, they're going to make you sing again. And then they're going to post you on the internet acting a fool. You cannot allow this to happen. You need to take charge of the situation. I hope I'm making my point. I'm not an advocate of responsibility. But there's a point where even you have to say, okay, I gotta take control of the situation. You know what I mean? Everybody sit down. This is what we need. Let's get to work. If you have an office where people are singing and dancing, you have a problem. And your people are not busy enough. So Luis, what's his name? Luis Mora Castillon. Okay, I'm just gonna call him Luis. Luis says to foster growth and development is his second reason. He says a great team leader sees their role as a catalyst for growth and development. My why revolves around the idea that I guide team members to learn, evolve, and reach their goals. It's about creating an environment where everyone has the chance to flourish. Yeah, maybe. Okay, for him, that's a good reason. For me, not so much, right? For me, not so much. Really, I just don't want these people controlling the money, telling me what to do with my money, spending all my money on Amazon and packages and all kinds of things, right? So he wants to foster growth and development. That's good enough for him, right? I say just grab the power for the sake of power, right? Whatever power there is to grab, grab it, and you'll figure out when you get there. Three is to serve and support. Leadership is fundamentally a service oriented role. My why stems from the. I'm going to do that one again. Number three, to serve and support. Leadership is fundamentally a oriented role. My why stems from the genuine desire to serve my team and to provide the support and guidance they need to succeed. It's about putting their needs above my own. Absolutely not. Putting their needs above my own, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting these people's needs above my own, right? Yes, I understand. He's not wrong though. He's not wrong. Leadership, there is a way to serve in terms of leadership. So you are providing the guidance, you are providing the standard, you are saying this is the target, this is what we want to reach, this is what we're working towards, this is what we're working for, right? And those, so you must understand this, right? We have three tiers of capacity, and I'll repeat this over and over again. The first tier of capacity are the very gifted, very qualified, very experienced, very talented. And they will reach the standards and the goals first with few mistakes and quickly. The second tier, they will reach the goal or the target next with more mistakes and a little bit slower. The third tier, they may not reach the target at all. They may have many more mistakes, and they'll come in dead last, right? But they would have performed something, right? So and then they have areas of development. So the ones that are not performing up to par, can you don't let them go. You just help them improve until they get to the standard. And then when they're there, they maintain the standards. So the ones who get there first and second, they need to get there quickly and maintain the standards. And then those who come in later, they need to be built up so that they can maintain the standard. But you need to have a standard to maintain, right? You need to have a target for them to reach. And that target cannot be shifting. It cannot, So this is how you serve them. You serve them by providing this type of leadership and by being an example. With the motivation and all that, motivations change on a daily basis. And what you'll find is that people who are very capable of achieving tasks, if they are not feeling motivated, they will quickly drop into the third tier and never rise again. But with standards, everybody gets to the top, right? Everybody gets to the top. And then you can say to them, you did a good job, right? Which is motivating in itself, right? It's motivating, indicating that the job, even the ones who do a bad job, just say, good job. Thank you for trying, right? Thank you for putting in that work so that they can work tomorrow to knowing that, okay, I didn't do so well, but hey, you know what I mean? I get to try again tomorrow. Don't be firing people. Don't look at what they do on TV. You don't want to fire your employees. You're gonna need them. You are going to need employees. That is for sure. I can guarantee you that much. Oh, this firing, you're fired. You're fired. That's TV. That's TV. No one got fired that day, right? That's just a show, and they shot that three, four times. No one got fired, right? So, guidance, leadership, standards, goals. That's what it should be about. Keep it simple, man. Keep it simple. Don't come in on the day and not have a task for them to accomplish, there'll be some of those that are waiting for you saying, "All right, let's kill it. What's the job today, boss?" And you'll be like, "Well, I'm still figuring it out." No, 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 no. Those that are the best performers. If you can't keep up with them, they will soon, very soon, be your next manager. You'll see. Right? Number four, to create a positive impact. As a team leader, I have the potential to shape the culture, values, and the morale of the team. My why is focused on the aspiration to create a positive impact not only within my team but also in the broader organization. It's about leaving a lasting legacy. The most impactful thing that you can do is getting results, right? Being task oriented means getting results. So every day you want to be, every day, every week, every quarter, every month, whenever you want to control productivity. So you cannot control whether the customer buys or not. But what you can do is control how many products you put out into the market. The sales department, they'll take care of the sales, and they're actually very good at what they do. But in terms of what you're doing organizationally, you want to focus on being as productive as you can. That way, the organization benefits, and you get to shape the culture in that way. But he's not wrong. You do get to shape culture, values, and the morale of the team, right? It's a question of how. There are some people that will build a culture around being liked, and that's dangerous, right? Or being feared, right? There are people who say, "Oh, it's better to be feared than to be liked, or to be respected than to be feared." Any emotion that you try to elicit from a person eventually is going to change to another emotion, right? So what you want to do is function above and beyond the emotions, right? Get the job done. Doesn't matter how good you feel or how bad you feel. If you get the job done, at the end of it, I'll give you a good job. I'll give you a thumbs up, right? And that will make you feel better. I've had people who started off the day and really weren't up for the task, but they did the task anyway, and then they messed it up, but at the end of it I said thank you and I said good job, and that good job makes a difference. So if you want to improve people's morale, just give them praise for their effort. Don't give them praise with no effort. You're not getting, I'm not going to come and tell you that you're a brilliant sales team. You haven't sold one item. Sell 1 million units, and then I'll tell you you're brilliant. But don't come and ask me to praise you for nothing. This is the first thing that I would say to anyone that I was managing. It's like, okay, what am I praising you for? Being a human being? No way. No, 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 no. You got to be a productive human, and then you get the praise, right? This is how you build culture. 5 is to build trust and collaboration. I don't know so much about the trust. Collaboration, yes. Trust, not so much. Trust is the cornerstone of effective leadership. Consistency is the cornerstone of effective leadership. Being there every day. Being there every single day. Be there like the furniture. You know what I'm telling you? Be there. Be there. And do the same thing again and again. You maintain that standard every single day. You have to be the guy who, when you start speaking, people finish your sentences for you. So if I say free sperm get, you got to know to say, get a vasectomy, right? Because it's the same thing every single day. That's leadership. It's not about coming up with a new topic of discussion. Yes, I come up with new topics every day, but those topics are built around one standard: freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. That's leadership, right? The best vasectomites, they've already got their vasectomy, right? The others, they'll come in a little bit later on, right? Make a few mistakes, have a few kids first, and then it's like, okay, now I need that vasectomy. And then later, the third tier, they'll come in a little bit later. But maintain the standards. This is how you do leadership. This is how you do leadership, right? He says, trust is the cornerstone of effective leadership. As a leader who starts with why, I understand the significance of building trust within the team. This trust forms the basis of collaboration, innovation, and unity, which are crucial for achieving common goals. Trust, I don't know so much, but have a pattern of consistency. I always say I pride myself on being predictable. On the one hand, it helps me to control things. On the other hand, when I pull that switch on you, you're not going to see it coming. You're going to expect me to act and dress and speak as I do every single day. And one day I'm going to pull a switch on you. You're never going to see it coming. A switch is only effective if it has something to be compared with, and it's always compared with consistency. Personally, I pride myself on consistency, and I pride myself on being repetitive and being predictable, because then you're really not gonna see me coming. But yes, being consistent, being predictable, right? This is how you build trust. This is how you build trust. When somebody looks at the platform and they click and they see a new video yesterday, and they click today and they see a new video today, what do they expect to see tomorrow? A new video, right? That expectation builds, you know, it creates an indication that there is a pattern developing here, and that pattern is becoming predictable, and that predictability creates trust, right? I'm not coming in here telling you not to get a vasectomy. I'm telling you to get that vasectomy every single day. And while I'm here telling you to be responsible, you can see that I'm actually telling you to be responsible for others, to prevent them from being irresponsible with you. So you got to take the initiative and make sure that people are acting right. So Luis says he wants to lead by example. A great leader doesn't just give orders but leads by example. I agree. My why is deeply rooted in the commitment to demonstrate the values, work ethic, and attitude I expect from my team. It's about living the principles you preach. I don't like that word preach. I like the word advocate. I like the word motivate, right? But I agree with him. I absolutely agree with him. If you are going to be a language instructor, you need to be able to speak the language. If you're going to be a chef and training other chefs, you need to be able to cook, right? You need to be able to tell people if they're doing something right or they're doing something wrong, right? If you're going to be running a business, an organization, a corporation, you need to know something at least about the product. You need to be very familiar with the product, right? And how to use it and who's using it and when, right? You need to know things, man. You really need to know things. You need to be knowledgeable, experienced, educated, qualified in order to be the example. You need to be the best in order to be the example, right? So even if, like, for example, I'll give you an example, like the CEO of the company might not know everything about selling stocks and such, but he's the example because he's the richest. So even if he doesn't know the nitty-gritty, all the details, he knows enough about the company to run it effectively and be the CEO. but he knows more about the company than you know about your job. Even though you might know a certain aspect about it, of the job and such, I assure you that CEO knows it all. He knows it all. Even though he might not know all the details of what you're doing, he knows it all. And he can maintain the standard and be the example because he's the best. This is why you have to be competitive. If you are competitive, it means that you are the best. In order for you to be the best, you have to be the best. And once you are the best, you are the example by which others, compare themselves to. But to stay the best is really not about motivation. It's all about maintaining your standards. If you're running 10 kilometers every day, it has to be 10 kilometers every day. Good days, bad days, hot days, cold days, sunny days, windy days, rainy days. 10Ks is 10Ks, right? And when you're good at it, when you're fit, when you're healthy, and people say, well, you look fit, you look healthy, how do you do it? Oh, I exercise, right? And people will say, well, sometimes I do 20 minutes, sometimes I do 30 minutes. Okay, that's why you have results that you have, because you're inconsistent. Me, it's 10Ks every day, right? Thereby, I'm leading by example, by maintaining my standards, right? Which work for me. Number seven, to overcome challenges. Leadership often comes with its share of challenges and obstacles. My why encompasses the willingness to embrace these challenges and lead your team through them. It's about viewing adversity, I beg your pardon, as an opportunity for growth. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Whatever challenges you face in leadership, they are inconsequential to the difficulty that you will have letting these people tell you what to do. Right? You are better off being the one telling them what to do. The challenge is really going to be that these people don't listen. And when they listen, they don't understand. And when they don't understand, they can't execute. And when they execute, they get it wrong. That's really the challenge. It's really going to be about training them, getting them to standard, and getting them to maintain that standard, right? And those difficulties are within reason. Any challenges that you face at work, if you are quality based, maintaining standard, focused on efficacy, focused on effort, focused on getting the results, right? Activity based focus. Many problems you'll find are just around like the occupation, operational problems. This is the word I'm looking for, not occupation. These are operational problems, right? So, you know, some screen isn't turning on, or the air conditioner is going off, right? Or you need more stationery or something to that effect, right? Operational issues can always be fixed, and those challenges can be fixed. Emotional challenges, who's liking who in the office, who's sleeping with who in the office, who's dating who in the office, stay away from those things. You're not going to be able to fix those things at all. Just tell them I'm really sorry that you're going through a difficult time in your life. But I think if you focus on the work, it'll help you keep your mind off the problems that you have at home, and then maybe that will, help you get some kind of solution. In other words, I'm not dealing with that. I'm really not dealing with the fact that your husband is cheating on you with his ex-girlfriend from high school that he hasn't seen in 20 years. I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into those. Now she's getting divorced to her husband and she wants to rekindle her love with your husband. No, 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 no. Don't need those problems. Finish the report. Finish the report. Give me the stats and let's send them over to corporate. Right? Don't tell me none of that. My kids have asthma. No, 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 no. Sorry for your kids, but I'm not getting involved. All right, let's finish the report. Number 8, to align with personal values. This I agree. My why, as a team leader, aligns with my personal values and principles. When your purpose harmonizes with your core beliefs, you'll find meaning and fulfillment in your leadership roles, right? When you realize that the people that are coming up behind you are going to make you sit in a circle and sing Gen Z Boss in a Mini, Gen Z Boss in a Mini, Gen Z Boss in a Mini. You want to take leadership. My personal goals are not to be standing in a circle singing that song first thing in the morning. No, not doing that, right? When I come into the room, I want everybody to stop singing. Here are your mandates for the day, right? Here are your goals, your targets. Go ahead, execute those. Give you a few instructions. And if there's any questions, my door is always open, right? What I'm not doing is standing around in a circle, acting like a fool, right? So those are my personal values. So, if you are really trying to find a reason to get into leadership, just look at the people. Not the people maybe around you, your peers. It's very difficult to gauge your peers, right? And the people above you, stay away from them, right? You're not leading those people. Like you're going to encounter people like me who really don't want to hear it from you, right? You 26, 27. You thinking you're going to take out your boss, your manager. You won't even make it halfway to HR and you'll be out of a job, right? Because that HR lady, I've known her for 12 years and I've done her a million favors. So you coming in there telling them that I'm not very friendly and I just want you to focus on the work and you want to build a team spirit, you're going to get yourself fired. You're really going to get yourself fired. So stay away from fighting with older people. Look at the people younger than you. Look at those people and just look at what they're doing. I mean, take a real serious look. Not from a social point of view, because we look at this from like a social point of view. Look at that young person and ask yourself with the blue hair and the nonsense. Is that the person you want to be taking orders from? I'm guessing it's a no. Even the people with blue hair don't want to take orders from people with blue hair because they know, right? And in truth, they're expecting you to know. They're expecting you to lead. They're not expecting to come in and have you, Mr. Middle-aged man, acting cool like them or not taking charge. They're really expecting it. They're expecting orders, right? Instructions. And then they're expecting that you will distract them with work. And that's what it is for young people. Work can be a bit of a distraction because you're dating, you're socializing, your priorities are in other places, right? So don't try force yourself to take leadership too early, especially if you're not interested in wielding power. Because power comes with time and responsibility. And if you're not interested in putting in that time, taking that responsibility and wielding that power, best to wait until you are. Right? People say there's no opportunity for leadership. There are plenty of opportunities for leadership. Right? There are plenty of it. Some of those are occupied by older people already and your time just hasn't come. Others is just a matter of you're just not interested. And you need to be honest with yourself. If you're not feeling it right now, step away. I did, and I waited. Well, I didn't step away, but I didn't force myself to rise. I didn't force myself to go lower, but I didn't force myself to rise until I was ready, right? And I only became ready when I saw that the people that were leading above me were really going very quickly. They go very quickly, these guys. They cannot wait to retire, some of these guys. They'll take early retirement if they think they got enough money, right? And the guys coming up behind me, it was just a big no. Even now, it's still a no. I don't care how talented you are. It's still a no from me. I'm not taking no leadership from you, especially since you don't have no standards. If you're coming in with just motivational skills, I don't want to hear it. I'm really not doing that at all. I'm not being dismissive. I'm just saying, man, wait until you're genuinely interested in leadership. I don't mean interested in money and power. Everyone is interested in money and power. Get over the money, get over the power, and look at the responsibility that stands in front of you. And if you're not willing to bear that, then you're not ready for leadership. Right? And if you're not interested in taking this group of misfits and turning them into a team, year after year, a different group of misfits every single year, right? In the movies, it's only one group of misfits and they become champions. No. Every single year, you get a different group of misfits and you got to do something with these people. And if that doesn't interest you, you are not interested in leadership. But effectively, there comes a point where even if you're not interested in leading, you're just not interested in following. And that is good enough, right? If you're not being interested in following people is a good enough reason to be a leader, right? And when you get there, you'll be much more satisfied. Looking around and saying, man, thank God I don't have to listen to these people. And they gotta listen to me. And they'll be grateful too, actually, ironically, because they don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do. Right? And they'll be grateful to have somebody play that role. Because they had teachers telling them to do, they had parents telling them what to do. They come to work, they'll be grateful to have a boss tell them what to do and tell them where the standard is. Right? It is the final few sentences. Becoming a team leader, as Simon Sinek will put it, should begin with a clear, meaningful why. It's not about what you'll do or how you'll do it, but why you want to lead. A purpose driven leader is one who can inspire, influence, and create a lasting impact, not just within their team, but in the world they touch. This guy is a full on bender. Isn't this what Benderim stands for? Listen to this. A purpose-driven leader is one who can inspire, influence, and create a lasting impact, not just within their team, but the world they touch. Didn't I tell you that Benders believe that by growing the family, they grow themselves, then they grow society, society grows the community, community grows the country grows humanity, humanity grows the world. Right? This is him right there. The leader inspires the team inspires the corporation will affect the world they touch. This is Benderism all over. I should have sensed it. I sensed a little bit of Benderism as I was reading through, but this final statement solidifies that, right? But effectively, he's not wrong, Bender or not, right? It all begins with the why. Why do you want to lead? Why do you want to take charge? Right? Now, you might want to inspire and motivate and do all the things that he wants here. Or you might be like me, who just doesn't want to be, forced to take nonsense from young people. Right? Again, the old people is one thing. You got to take nonsense from old people. That's their job, to give you nonsense and make sure you get it. Right? Older people, let them have it, man. Let them have it. I promise you, even if you think you're better than them, they won't let you take power from them, and they'll hurt you more than you can hurt them. Not worth the fight. Right? Not worth the fight. But these young people, 25, 26, 27, 32, 33, 34, 35, you don't want to hear nothing from these people. You got to make sure that you put them to task and that you get the results out of them that you need to. Give them a good thumbs up. Give them a job well done. Treat them like they're still in school. Treat them like they're still in school. Make them work every day, and then give them a reward from time to time. But don't let them come in and tell you what to do, because they don't know. They really don't know. They don't know at all, and they're not going to know for a very long time. So yes, this is it. This is it. These are the reasons why you should take leadership, why you should take some responsibility as a bachelor and as a vasectomite, right? You got to take responsibility, because if you don't, somebody else is going to tell you what to do, right? It's the same thing as bending the knee, right? You don't get that vasectomy, you're going to spend your life bending that knee. Somebody else is going to spend their whole life telling you what to do, and you have no choice but to do it, right? But this is the end of the video. Thank you for your time and your attention. Again, as always, I appreciate it, and I always will. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, and I'm wishing you a very lovely day.